Hello everyone and welcome to another live lesson here on English Like a Native with me, Anna English. Today we are looking at advancing our English with this English vidcast. So I hope you are sitting comfortably because today we have some very interesting content to cover. Now, if any of you have been missing me, then I have been posting daily on Instagram and quite often on Facebook as well. So make sure you are following me there. I am going to be reducing the amount of live lessons I do every week, but I'm trying to increase the amount of pre-recorded lessons, of which I hope you have been enjoying. So feel free to say hello. I do have my Patreon Skype room open as well, so patrons feel free to write your messages in the Skype room and I'll be sure to answer you. But otherwise, shall we start this vidcast straight away with our word of the day? So today's word of the day is the word diligent. Diligent. Now, to be diligent is an adjective and it means that you show care in your work. So if you're a diligent person, you take a lot of care over what you do. Now tell me, are you a diligent person? The example I've given here is, the diligent teacher made sure all the students passed their exams with flying colours. If you pass your exam with flying colours, it means that you passed with a big margin. You didn't just pass by a little bit, but you passed really easily. So maybe you got 99% out of 100. So to pass with flying colours. So are you a diligent person? Now, with the word of the day, I want you to try and use it at least 3 times in the next 24 hours. So remember that. Diligent, diligent, diligent. Try to get it into your brain, use it at least 3 times, and then slowly it will sink in and you won't forget it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go on to today is our riddle. So I'm going to give you this riddle and the answer will come at the end of the session. So the riddle for today is, name 4 days of the week that start with the letter T. Name 4 days of the week that start with the letter T. Interesting. I'll leave that one with you. See if any of you jump on the answer straight away. And if you're struggling, then don't worry because the answer will come at the end. All right, so what's next on the list? Now normally here we talk about the weather. But I decided today, because the weather is generally pretty much the same, it's either good or it's bad. And we've talked about the weather in the last 4 vidcasts. I thought today we'd talk about food, because that's another thing that we Brits love to talk about. And it's certainly something we all get involved in. So here is a traditional British English dish, and it's called toad in the hole. Now, a toad is normally like a frog, a little slimy creature that lives in a pond. But we do call this dish toad in the hole because it looks like toads are sitting in a pond floating on the top. And it's basically sausages in batter. And so for this dish, which would serve, I think, 4 people, you have 8 pork sausages, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, 225 grams of plain flour, or 8 ounces, depending which metric you work with. You would use 4 eggs, 250 millilitres of milk, and you would use a little salt and pepper to taste. So that's just put as much salt and pepper in as you wish to make it taste as nice as you like it. All right, so here is the recipe. Here's what we do. You preheat the oven. So to preheat the oven is to heat up the oven before you put any food into it. So you preheat the oven, you get it ready, nice and hot. And here they suggest you put it up to 200 degrees Celsius or gas mark 6. Then you pour the oil into the bottom of the baking dish and arrange the sausages over it in a single layer. So you spread the sausages out in the baking tray. You bake for 10 minutes in the preheated oven. Meanwhile, in a medium bowl, whisk together And to whisk is to mix with a special whisker. It's called a whisk, and it's lots of wires all in different directions, and you just whisk it up. So meanwhile, in a medium bowl, whisk together flour, eggs, and half of the milk until smooth. So you whisk it until it's nice and smooth. There's no lumps in it. Gradually mix in the rest of the milk until a smooth batter is achieved. So a batter is what we refer to when the mixture basically of flour, eggs and milk is called batter. So gradually mix in the rest of the milk until a smooth batter is achieved. Season with salt and pepper. So when you put salt and pepper on something, or you put herbs on something to make it taste nice, the act of making something taste good is to season. So to put herbs, salt, pepper, anything like that, you are seasoning it. So you season with salt and pepper. Then remove the sausages from the oven and ladle. To ladle something is to spoon it, but a ladle is a special big spoon to do big jobs, like serving up soup or to serve batter into a baking tray. So it's a big spoon, it's called a ladle. And the act of using a ladle is to ladle. Okay, so we have to ladle the batter over those sausages until the sausages are 3/4 covered. 3/4 covered. Return to the oven and bake for 35 minutes until the center is risen and browned. Don't worry if the underside, so underneath, don't worry if the underside seems slightly soft, as this is normal. And there you go. That is the recipe for this dish. Now I have to say, if you are going to try to make this dish yourself, you must have gravy. Toad in the hole is delicious, but it has to be finished off with a nice, lovely gravy. Okay, I'm going to say a quick thank you to Julia. I've just seen you've dropped a super chat. Thank you so much, Julia. That's very kind of you. And you said, big up for the best teacher. You're awesome, Julia. Thank you so much. And of course, you are entitled to the notes, as you've been so kind as to drop a super chat. So do feel free, Julia, to give me a little nudge and remind me with an email that these are the notes you want. Okay? Fantastic. Okay, so I'm now going to just have a quick check-in on my patrons. Hello, patrons. Hi, Andreas. Yes, it's nice to see you too. Yes, it has been a while. I've not been here for a week. And Eric says, I wish I were diligent, but ... Oh dear. Where is Elvis Presley? Heartbreak Hotel. Elvis will come shortly, so just hold on to your horses. Hold your horses. Okay, so we have 165 people here. Hello, everyone. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are happy and safe. There's been a lot of crazy weather going on recently. And so I just want to say a huge thank you to anyone who has subscribed, because we are getting very close to a big milestone. I think we're on about 86,000 at the moment, but we're closing in on that 100,000 subscriber mark. When we get to 100,000, then I will start to get more help from YouTube to help me with this channel and help me with this community. So if you can help me by pressing that share button and the subscribe button, if you haven't already subscribed, then that will make the world of difference. I would love to get to 100,000 subscribers before the end of this month. I think it's unlikely, but it would be amazing to start actually getting some help with this channel. So if you're kind enough, just click that share button and that would be amazing. Right, let's carry on then, shall we? So we've had our toad in the hole, yum, yum, yum. And that brings us to our idiom for today. So today's idiom is a square peg in a round hole. A square peg, oh, I'm on the wrong thing. There we go. A square peg in a round hole. So if something is a square peg in a round hole, it refers to a person who does not fit in well. So imagine you have a square-shaped peg and you're trying to push it into a round hole. It just won't fit very well. And so someone who doesn't fit in with a group of people or in society in general, or maybe they're just generally out of place, then you could say they're a square peg in a round hole. And here I've given a little example. Bert, poor Bert here, Mr. Redbird, Bert tried to fit in with the locals, but he was like a square peg in a round hole. He just stood out. He didn't quite fit in. So there you go. There's today's idiom. All right. So Mihail says, I've shared it on Facebook. Thank you very much, Mihail. That's really kind of you. And lots of you saying you're trying to help me to get to 100,000 subscribers. Thank you, guys. I really, really do appreciate that. It does make a huge difference. All right, so today's news. I thought we'd go into space today and look at something quite interesting about gravitational waves. Gravitational waves. So many new toys to unwrap. Here we go. Whenever there's a big science discovery, it's always nice to get a historical perspective. Now, a perspective just means a point of view. So if you're looking at things from my perspective, then you'll see things from my point of view. If I want to think about how my lessons help you, then I have to think about your perspective, your point of view. In this case, we're looking at science discoveries from a historical perspective. So looking back at history and seeing it in that way. So perspective is a good word. And so here goes with a remarkable observation. So if something is remarkable, it's noteworthy, it's quite special and worth noting. So a remarkable observation. If you observe something, you make an observation. So what you learn from watching something, from seeing something. So with a remarkable observation of gravitational waves emanating from the merger of two dead stars. To emanate is to come out of. So if I was emanating happiness, you could say that happiness was coming out of me. You could say that emanating. You could say that the house was emanating heat waves. If you can see the heat rising, you know, when it makes like a wave in the vision. So you could say, I could see the heat rising. The house was emanating heat waves. So to emanate is to have something coming out of you. And a merger is when two things come together. They merge. And so there's been a merger of two dead stars. And from that merge, there are now gravitational waves emanating, coming out of those stars. All right, let's carry on. Or neutron stars. Some 130 million light years from Earth. It's 50 years since the existence of these stellar remnants were confirmed by the mighty Northern Irish astronomer Jocelyn Bell Brunel. So the existence of these stellar refers to star, so you can refer to anything that is a star as stellar, and remnants is what is left after something has expired or something has been destroyed. So these stars have been destroyed, and so these are stellar remnants. Good, nice and easy. Let's carry on. It's more than 40 years since we realised neutron stars might occur in pairs, or binaries as we call them. From that time, it's been clear that occasionally they would approach closer together and have a spectacular splat of some kind, says English astronomer Royal Sir Martin Rees. Well, on the 17th of August this year, at precisely 12:41, a pair was duly observed to do just that, to have a big splat. The big fuss is that the event was recorded first from its gravitational wave signature, the way it warped space-time. Now, warped means to bend or flex something. So if I warp a spoon, I bend a spoon. Okay? So these gravitational waves warped space-time. It's hard to get my head around this, but hopefully you're all following. A major breakthrough. And then through its light emissions at many different wavelengths, from gamma rays all the way through to radio waves over subsequent days. An emission is something you put out, and it's usually talking about gas. So when you run your car will have emissions coming out of the exhaust, so gas that comes as a product of running the car. All right, hopefully you're finding this reasonably easy, not too hard. So here we go, this last paragraph. This combination of observations has never been possible before, and it provides significant new insights into the workings of neutron stars, where the density of matter is theorized to be perhaps a few 100,000 to a few 100 million tons per cubic centimeter. Weird stuff. Now, these words, significant means very important. Density means how compact it is, how thick it is with stuff. So if you have very brittle bones, you might have low bone density. So your bones aren't very compact, they're not very thick and strong. If you have high density bones, it means you have thick, strong bones. And to be theorized is to form a theory on something. So you have an idea about something, you have a theory. Okay, I hope that wasn't too difficult. Even I find articles like that a little bit difficult because I haven't spent time studying space and astrology and things like that. Not astrology, astronomy. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Let's move on to the next part of the session. Now we're going to look at a poem. This is quite an interesting poem. It's very different. They have purposely made spelling mistakes. Now this is called I Have a Spelling Checker. And the poem is very funny because it purposely makes spelling mistakes based on homophones. So if you saw the lesson I did on homophones, where two words sound the same, but they have a different spelling and a different meaning, then you should find this easy to follow. All right, so let me just jump straight into it. I have a spelling checker. I have a spelling checker. It came with my PC. It plainly marks for my review mistakes I cannot see. I strike a key and type a word and wait for it to say whether I am wrong or right. It shows me straight away. As soon as a mistake is made, it knows before too long, and I can put the error right. It's really never wrong. I have run this poem through it, and I am sure you're pleased to know it's letter perfect in its way. My checker told me so. That's really hard. That's really hard. Even I struggle to read it because of all the homophones. Now, I'm going to show you how it should have been written down so that you can get an idea for what it's supposed to look like. All right. So, and this is quite funny. Here's the correct English version. I have a spelling checker. It came with my PC. It plainly marks for my review mistakes I cannot see. I strike a key and type a word and wait for it to say whether I am wrong or right. It shows me straight away. As soon as a mistake is made, it knows before too long, and I can put the error right. It's rarely ever wrong. I have run this poem through it. I am sure you're pleased to know it's letter perfect in its way. My checker told me so. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did. So Eric says, Dear Anna, where is the humour, fun and joy? This lesson is so far from Elvis. What? Elvis is coming. You have to wait. Patience is a virtue. This is something that we say regularly here in the UK when people are being impatient for something. You say, patience is a virtue, so don't be impatient. All right, so the next part of the lesson is the singing part. Now, I have been singing all day because I'm getting ready for Christmas. So I've been singing Christmas songs all day for my Bella and Beans channel. And my voice is a little bit tired, so I'm going to need your help. We're going to sing Elvis Presley, Love Me Tender. It's a nice, repetitive song. And I want you to sing along with me. I don't care where you are. I don't care who can hear you. I want you to sing along. We'll sing nice and slow so that you can try to remember the English sentence structure, and hopefully you'll learn one or two words. Maybe not. It's quite a simple song. But we're going to sing the whole thing. So, are you ready? Here we go. Love Me Tender by Elvis Presley. Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfilled. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Love me tender, love me long, take me to your heart, for it's there that I belong, and we'll never part. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfilled. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Love me tender, love me dear, tell me you are mine. I'll be yours through all the years, till the end of time. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfilled. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Oh, I get so embarrassed when I do the singing part. I do hope that some of you are singing along with me. Let me know in the comments, were you singing along? And do you find it helpful? I can definitely guarantee that music does help you to learn. So if you were singing along, then it will be good for your English learning. And if you weren't singing along, then I hope it wasn't too embarrassing. Oh. Okay, let me have a look what my patrons are saying. So Eric is sending me lots of videos for Elvis. Thanks, Eric. Ella says, oh, hello, I have missed the Elvis part. No, you haven't. I just did it for you. Oh, you love Me Tender. Yes. It's a good song. Yes, Eric, why are you sending all these videos? You got me right now. Ta-da! All right, so the next part of the lesson, and we're coming to the end, so it's nearly done. The next part of the lesson is the joke part. Just before we finish up, we have our jokes, and then I will reveal the answer to the riddle. So the first joke, here we go. Are you ready for this? I will try to deliver this the best I can. A. Hey, aren't you wearing your wedding ring on the wrong finger? B. Yes, I am. I married the wrong woman. I thought that was funny. Let me show you, just so you can see it. Aren't you wearing your wedding ring on the wrong finger? B. Yes, I am. I married the wrong man. So we often talk about whether, the wrong woman even. We often talk about whether you've met the right one or if they're the wrong one. If you married the wrong woman, you married the wrong man. And I'm sure you can all understand what we mean by that. The right person for you. And sometimes it does happen, doesn't it, that we end up marrying someone that we shouldn't be with because they're not good for us. Anyway, let's move on to the next joke. Are you ready for this one? Hopefully this will be a funnier joke for you. And this is, Fred is 32 years old and he's still single. One day a friend asked him, "Why aren't you married? Can't you find a woman who will be a good wife?" Fred replied, "Actually, I found many women I wanted to marry, but when I brought them home to meet my parents, my mother didn't like them." His friend thinks for a moment and says, "I've got the perfect solution for you. Just find a girl who is just like your mother." So, a few months later, they meet again, and his friend says, "Did you find the perfect girl? Did your mother like her?" With a frown on his face, Fred answers, "Yes, I found the perfect girl. She was just like my mother. You were right. My mother liked her very much." The friend said, "Then what's the problem?" Fred replied, "My father doesn't like her." I thought that one was very funny. Okay, and just so that you can read that one for yourself, here you go. Fred is 32 years old and he's still single. One day a friend asks, "Why aren't you married? Can't you find a woman who will be a good wife?" Fred replied, "Actually, I found many women I wanted to marry, but when I bring them home to meet my parents, my mother doesn't like them." His friend thinks for a moment and says, "I've got the perfect solution. Just find a girl who's just like your mother." A few months later, they meet again, and his friend says, "Did you find the perfect girl? Did your mother like her?" With a frown on his face, Fred answers, "Yes, I found the perfect girl. She was just like my mother. You were right. My mother liked her very much." The friend says, "Then what's the problem?" Fred replied, "My father doesn't like her." You just can't win, can you? Oh wow, we have 199 people watching. Goodness, if someone, just one of you, could just press that share button, that'll go up to 200 and that will be amazing. Yay! All right, so we're going to finish off in just a second. Before I go, we're going to do the answer to the riddle. And the riddle was, do you remember? The riddle was, name 4 days of the week that start with the letter T. Did anyone get the answer for this? Anyone? So, of course, we have Tuesday, starts with a T. We have Thursday, starts with a T. But what other days of the week start with T? Let's have a look at the answer, shall we? You're going to kick yourself when you see this. Today and tomorrow. Of course. Tuesday, Thursday, today and tomorrow. Fantastic. Now, can any of you remember the word of the day and the idiom of the day? The word of the day was diligent. You are very diligent if you take a lot of care over your work. And the idiom of the day, when I can find it, was a square peg in a round hole. All right, guys, it's been fantastic to see you again. Patrons, I'm going to stay on the chat room and talk to you. If any of you out there are interested in becoming a patron, then I do desperately need your help. The more help I get, the more I can come live. At the moment, I can't come live very often because I have to take other work in order to cover everything. So if you want to become a patron, help this community to grow, then check out the link in the description box below, along with lots of other helpful resources and links that you can check out. And if you become a patron, you also get rewarded with copies of the notes, with access to messaging me, access to the website, and some of you even get to join me on WhatsApp and Skype calls. Ta-da! All right, if you're not already a member of the Instagram British English Pro page, then come along there. I'm doing lots of daily pronunciation practice and I can help you to improve your pronunciation, and it's free, so why not? The link is also down in the description box below. Otherwise, make sure you give this video a big thumb up, and I will see you again on the next live lesson. If you want to know where it's going to be, when it's going to be, then you need to follow me on Facebook and Instagram, because that is where I announce them. All right, lots of love. You're all amazing. I'll stay on the chat room and speak to you if you're here with me now live. Otherwise, have a nice evening. Bye.